there, welcome to the 33rd episode of Under the Radar. I am pleased to be back. Happy New Year to you. Happy 2021. Looking forward to this year and accomplishing even more than I did in 2020. And I hope you are too. I have a lot more to talk about at the end of the episode in regard to what I've been doing with the red tape and the progress that I've been making in the studio. But I've also been sending out pre-orders for the Singularity collection, which is 16 tracks that are the embryonic stages of this band and project that I'm now in here. And it comes with a free sticker and a poster, so feel free to hop over to slavetoservant.com/store and get yourself a copy if you are interested. There are only 1,000 copies pressed, and after that, they are all gone. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode. In the last episode, I talked about a band called Motion City Soundtrack and their 3 songs that were recorded by Sean O'Keefe. Sean O'Keefe is a record producer from Chicago. And in the early 2000s, around the time of these recordings, he was just kind of starting out, got his first foot in the door with Knockout's Searching for Solid Ground, which I've covered in this series. I also mentioned the Motion City songs. Was also recording new material at the time for a band called 504 Plan, and then some others that were recently signing to different labels. And in today's episode, I'm going to revisit a band that I covered in episode 17, a band called Fall Out Boy. And I'm wearing their shirt. This is a shirt I got from their show at the Wheaton Community Center in, I think, March of 2003, before Take This to Your Grave came out. But as I had mentioned, I want to kind of rewind for a second and go back. I had covered the history of Fall Out Boy in episode 17, and I had talked about how my first impression of the band was just that they weren't very good and that they were a novice and kind of just starting out and trying to, just develop whatever it was that they were trying to become, and it wasn't to me anything extraordinarily special. So I kind of lost touch with the band after seeing them a couple times live at the beginning when they were a 5-piece. Fast forward, throughout the year of 2002, they had member lineup changes. They started to get into more venues, play with a lot of more notable bands, did some touring, and made new recordings, which is going to pertain to this episode big time. But in fall/winter of 2002, which I had mentioned in the August premiere episode, there were a bunch of bands that followed the band Knockout to get signed. August premiere signed to Fueled by Ramen. Spitalfield signed to Victory Records. Red Hot Valentine signed to Polyvinyl Records. And I think there were some others as well. But one of the bands that also signed at that time was Fall Out Boy. And Fall Out Boy signed to Fueled by Ramen. Now there's more that goes into this story. It's not just about Fueled by Ramen, but the thing that was really interesting at this time was I had kind of lost touch with them. It had been 6 to 8 months since I had really seen them or, kept my finger on their pulse. And all of a sudden, they went from their first Metro show, which was a really big deal. They played, I believe it was like in September of 2002, they opened for Logan's Loss, and Spitalfield played. I think it might have been Logan's Loss's last show or something like that before they became Divide by Zero. But anyway, very shortly after playing their first show at Metro, Fall Out Boy signed to Fueled by Ramen and announced that they were touring with American Hi-Fi and Ultimate Fake Book and all these bands. It was just very quick at that tail end of that last quarter of 2002. And a lot of us were pretty amazed, and I hadn't gotten a chance to even hear what they had been cooking up. I just kind of thought, oh, the split and the demo and the previous material that I covered in episode 17. So I was a little late coming to all that. So in the previous episode, I had talked about this split that was supposed to come out with Knockout and Fall Out Boy. Well, the 3 songs that Fall Out Boy recorded for this supposed split, I guess initially, technically, they were supposed to be recorded for a split with 504 Plan that later came out as an EP with additional tracks. But that split with 504 Plan never happened, and those 3 songs ended up becoming the band's demos to send to labels, and eventually were the foundation of the album that we now call Take This to Your Grave. Now, again, I hadn't heard these songs yet, but these were recorded by Sean O'Keefe. There were 2 songs that landed themselves on this sampler with Less Than Jake, just as Fall Out Boy inked a deal with Fueled By Ramen, which was great promotion at the time, since Less Than Jake is still just a heavy-hitting ska punk outfit. And for Fall Out Boy to instantly get that kind of credibility on a sampler was kind of mind-boggling for any of us. Like, it's one thing to drop a record on a record label that you respect, but then to be featured as, like, you know, on the promo sampler with such a big band, that's great. A great way to promote your band and give you some credit at the same time in the punk scene. So a friend of mine passed this sampler on to me after receiving it at a concert, and I was blown away when I heard the song Saturday in particular.
2 more weeks, my foot is in the door. Me and Pete in the wake of Saturday, when these open doors were open and then Saturday, when these open doors were open and then
Falsettos at the end of Saturday, to me, were, I mean, I could not stop playing the song. Nobody in pop punk was doing falsettos like that. That was like a strictly R&B pop move to do something like that. Not necessarily in the alternative rock world or pop punk world to do something like that on a record or a song. And the other thing that was really notable about Saturday was the layering of harmonies before the chorus hits on the pre-chorus.
when I say
Very Sting-like kind of layering from the Police meets like Queen. Just amazing job. And again, a night and day difference between this Fall Out Boy here and the Fall Out Boy I covered in episode 17. You can see why I was just shocked. At the same time, it was Reinvention 101, so, I mean, fair game. Like, we have a novice new band trying to figure themselves out, and then they figured it out. And they did a great job. The other song on this sampler had a more of a pogo-y, bouncy chorus, and kind of reminded me of the band Show Off a little bit. It's a song called Dead on Arrival.
no, it's not the last time, 'cause I'm never saying no to you. This conversation's still dead on arrival, and there's no way to talk to you when you're dead on arrival. We get so deep between me and this lost of sleep over you. This is side 1, flip me over. I know I'm not your favorite record, but the songs you brought life never stick at first. So I'm writing you a chorus, and here is all. Woo!
Now again, after hearing these 2 songs on this sampler with Less Than Jake, I was sold. I was a convert. I was once a skeptic and not into Fall Out Boy, and all of a sudden they had me with this. And I think also aesthetically speaking, I love the cover as well. I mean, blue's my favorite color, but it had that kind of jazz blue note vibe, old vinyl record feel. Just a very memorable like picture. Some people compare it to it's like the pop punk Abbey Road or something like that. It's a very cool picture. Sets a definite mood. So anyway, I was hooked. I wanted to hear more, and I remember hearing a ringtone. This was back in, I think, 2003 now? I remember a friend calling her phone, and she had "Where's Your Boy?" Grand Theft Autumn as her ringtone on her phone for when you would wait for it to ring. Again, the intro with him just singing a cappella at the beginning, and just the overall song was so catchy.
Where is your boy tonight? I hope he is a gentleman. Maybe he won't find out what I know. You were the last good thing about this part of town. When I wake up, I'm willing to take my chances on whom I forget that you hate him more than you notice. I wrote this for you. You need him, I could be him, I could be an accident, but I'm still trying. And there's more than I can say for him. Where is your boy tonight? I hope he's a gentleman. Maybe he won't find out what I know. You were the last good thing about this part of town.
Grand Theft Autumn really, to me, was the truly catchiest radio viable song on this record. And when I had heard that as a third track before purchasing the actual full length, I knew I had to get more. Like, I knew it. I already knew it on the two songs. So I remember the day that this record dropped, I went to go to Circuit City after waiting tables and to find it. And they didn't have it at Circuit City, so there wasn't like really good distribution yet. The band wasn't super popular yet. You couldn't find it at Circuit City. So I went to Borders, where I was pretty sure I would find it, and I was right. And this is the actual copy that I bought. It's kind of tattered, but this is the original pressing, and this actually came with a Fall Out Boy baseball card, it had stats of the band, like how often they practice and whatnot, little facts about the members. But I bought this at Borders. That was a moment where, like, a band that I've seen in my local scene, I could actually buy the record at Borders. Like, I couldn't find the Knockout record at Borders. Anyhow, I just remember that feeling of, wow, a band from our scene is getting that kind of distro. So that was a big moment. So I remember popping this baby in, and from the get-go, what a banging opener. Tell that Mick he just made my list of things to do today.
Like that smoke, yeah, what for giving up on me? What does still kill you sooner than my expectations? To my favorite liar, to my favorite score, I could have died with you. I hope you choke on those words that kiss that bottle. Confess.
Now that song really displays to me what is so special about Fall Out Boy as a whole, lyrically, vocally, stylistically. They have, there was a quote I think I read in a magazine, and it was like, hardcore kids write better pop punk songs than pop punk kids. And I think that's true. Like, having the history of Fall Out Boy coming from hardcore, they just had a completely different angle, kind of like how New Found Glory did. They took some of that New Found Glory template, mixed it with the lyricism and style of Saves the Day, and then Patrick really took that vocal influence from Jamie Wolford of The Stereo. And presto, you have Take This to Your Grave. What a great record. This, to me, is the record that changed the whole landscape of the scene that we were all playing in and really opened doors. I don't know, again, it was one of those moments like when I saw Alkaline Trio being signed to Vagrant and touring constantly, having Matt Skiba from my hometown, that was a really big deal to me and allowed me to see that that was possible. And same with Fall Out Boy. I mean, this band made so many different careers and opportunities for bands in our scene. It's pretty astounding, actually. And as this series continues to unfold, I will showcase those bands and releases. Now, while I can't play every song on this CD, which I'd love to, because personally I just feel that this is a very flawless pop punk record. And again, I want to say this, is that at this time, like, pop punk was already a thing, like, for a while. I mean, it wasn't like emo was becoming the thing and screamo and things like that. And Fall Out Boy took their approach to pop punk and somehow made it work and made it fresh again and built onto it. And I was kind of amazed that I liked a pop punk record and that I couldn't get it out of my stereo. Another song that I just loved the hell out of was a song that featured Justin Pierre on the chorus to it, a song called Chicago Is So 2 Years Ago.
You want apologies, girl, you might hold your breath until your breathing stops forever, forever. The only thing you'll get is this curse on your lips. I hope they taste of me forever. There's a light on in Chicago, and I know I should be home. And all the colors of the street signs, they remind me of the pickup truck out in front of your neighbors. With every move now, with your body will be looking again. With every breath now, with your body will be looking again. There's a love with every love now, with your body will be looking again.
Now, there is a whole lot more history and more to the story. It's quite well known now in regard to Fall Out Boy and Take This to Your Grave and Fueled by Ramen, but a lot of it was printed in the oral history of Take This to Your Grave issue by Alternative Press magazine that was put out, like 8 years ago or something like that, or 10 years ago? I have no idea, but anyhow, you can find most of the information here. Like I said before, the band got signed to Fueled by Ramen kind of as a cred move. They had already had a deal with Island Records, and they just wanted like the indie cred to kind of build a real like solid cult following, and it definitely worked. Their ticket into Fueled by Ramen was through the band August Premiere. Mickey Molinari got them signed. One of the things that's quite noticeable about Island backing Fall Out Boy for Take This to Your Grave is the budget that the band got to record that record versus what August Premiere got in comparison for their album Fireworks and Alcohol on Fueled by Ramen. So that was definitely helpful for them. For those that haven't read this, this is a great read if you're interested in this record and just that time frame. Mark Rose from Spitalfield is in it. The owner of Drive Thru Records is in it, and Tim from Rise Against also. Be sure to check this out online or get yourself a physical copy. I'm sure you can probably order one. But one story that's not in here, which was told to me by my friend Dan Precision, who was in Rise Against and 88 Fingers Louie. This is kind of a funny story. So, January of 2003, that was my birthday, January 18th. I believe this was 2003. So when Fall Out Boy was recording Take This to Your Grave, it didn't have a title yet. And the band Divide by Zero, which was members of Logan's Loss, their new band, and they were playing with Fall Out Boy and Rise Against. Divide by Zero put this EP out on Sinister label, the same label that released Spittlefield's Cloak and Dagger EP, as well as Logan's Loss. But they were working on new songs for a new full-length record, and one of the songs was called Take This to Your Grave. And when they played the song live at this show, Dan Precision told me that when Fall Out Boy got on, they literally said in the mic that they would steal that song title. And they certainly did. And so Divide by Zero renamed that song just to Grave on their second release. So that's a little trivia that I found out fairly recently from Dan Precision, since I didn't get a chance to attend the show when I was in Florida visiting a label that put out Midwest Blue. But yeah, this certainly solidified a following for Fall Out Boy and the proper infrastructure and base for which they would go on to release From Under the Cork Tree and have mainstream radio success and be on MTV and all that. But again, when this came out, like, I remember playing the Knights of Columbus with, I think it was like the Indecisives. It was like a ska show, a ska punk show. Midwest Blue was playing, and one of the moments when I knew like the band was really starting to gain momentum was that summer of 2003, after this had come out, when there were girls in the audience like, "Oh my God, one of the members of Fall Out Boy is out in the parking lot." And I remember thinking, yeah, like, they're from here and they play here and they tour, and when they come home they come back to where they're familiar with and where their friends hang out. And I remember not thinking of a big deal, but like that they were starting to attract like people that had never heard of them, and they thought they were, you know, already at like this other level that they were building toward. And it was just really cool to watch them blow the hell up, and to watch so many of my friends' bands open for them and be able to have success because of them. Anyhow, I will say that there was a limited edition deluxe pressing of the director's cut of this, which I used to have, but I eBayed, and it came with 2 bonus tracks on it, as well as liner notes, and had a little bit different artwork. It was in a jewel case and not a digipack, and had like a cardboard surrounding to it. The 2 bonus tracks, they did a remix, like a dance remix of Grand Theft Auto, Where's Your Boy? And then they also had a cover of The Police, Roxanne, which was featured on the Militia Group compilation Policia, a tribute to the Police. Which, by the way, I wanted to say, the band that I play in, Handsome Young Ladies, we covered Roxanne as well, and it is included on our studio album on CD and LP if you want to go to the link here and order a copy. But yeah, Take This to Your Grave was just groundbreaking in our scene. I mean, I thought it was a big deal when Knockout dropped Searching for Solid Ground, but Take This to Your Grave was just stuck in my CD player, and I'll definitely be covering one more release by Fall Out Boy in this series, but I don't feel that I should be covering anything that was like super mainstream, because it's just not under the radar, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, cheers to this classic. In other news, on the Slave to Servant tip, I've been working on songs in the studio, some hip-hop stuff, some soul stuff, R&B stuff, but even cooler is that I know I talked about this in the past in some of these episodes, that my buddy Mark Esses from the band For the Fallen Dreams on Rise Records and the band Flowers for Dorian was going to be drumming on 3 songs that are going to be on the Red Tape. And he just tracked all the drums yesterday with Dan Precision at the Bomb Shelter in Park Ridge, Illinois, and I am so stoked. be able to work on these soon and get the vocals finished and get them mixed by James Paul Wisner. As far as anything else, I'm currently working on a music video that I'm going to make myself for a song on the Red Tape. I'm gonna do like a DIY music video like I did for the Red Tape interlude a number of months ago. I'm also working on some other videos for Slave to Servant. The Pearls video will be done by the end of the month, and if we don't have any more lockdowns, I'm gonna be flying my butt out to LA, and I'm gonna be recording some videos from Escape Babylon with my buddy Shimon. So I'm really pumped to just keep working, keep getting things done. Feel free to check out slavetoservant.com. Feel free to hit me up, slavetoservant@gmail.com if you want. And I appreciate all the comments and all the people reaching out and just kind of getting involved. I will have a new episode for you soon, and thank you for your time.